You've got a new EP coming here this fall, but right now we have your new single, I Hate That I Love Brooklyn, out. Talk about the story behind the single itself.
Yeah. I there's to my guitar player and beginners and I went to this another artist producer's house to just like jam on some music. His name's Matthias Mora, and he's like this incredible artist and a good friend. And so me and Posey went over to his place, and we were like, the first thing that we saw was just this like insane baseball hat that was like said Brooklyn all in like rhinestones. And it was like, and the hat was like also a denim hat with these like rhinestones that said Brooklyn. And we were like, oh my God, Matthias, this is like the most epic hat. And so then we spent like the next like 2 hours essentially shoot doing various like mock 90s, rap album cover kind of photo shoots and like not working on music at all. And uh and then we were finally like, okay, we need to like sit down and like work on something. And so then we were like, okay, the song obviously has to be about Brooklyn at that point. So we knew it had to be about Brooklyn, and and then essentially we started writing it. I mean, it's the song is basically a giant metaphor for somebody that you know I was in love with, but that just tortured me. It was like so hard. They like made me feel like the highest I've ever felt, but was also like um the lowest I've ever felt. You know what I mean? It was like so challenging, and it was interesting because it really reminded me of that sort of like parallel of like a relationship like that, that like makes you feel alive but is also like really hard on you. Of it reminded me of stuff like that, like with a city like Brooklyn or like New York City or even LA, in these major cities where it's like you feel so excited and manic within them, but it's also really hard. It's like super expensive, it's like competitive, it's like big city stuff, you know.
Well, I know the fans are really enjoying it. I've seen such good things online about it. What do you think it is that they relate to it? Is it just the simple fact that they regret having to love someone?
Dude, I know. I'm like, I think it's interesting because I've kind of wondered as people hear it if they in their minds if they're relating it to a relationship or if they're relating it to like a city, especially because a lot of our listeners are like in major cities. Um, and yeah, so like, I don't know. I've had a lot of people reach out and be like, specifically be like, oh my God, that's how I feel too. Like, I hate that I love New York City, or I hate that I love Brooklyn. Cause that means, you know what I mean? Like, you love it so much, you just have to like be there, and you have to like deal with all the kind of bullshit, um, that comes along with it because you love the city. I've had a lot of people reach out in that capacity. I haven't had anybody be like, I haven't had anybody like directly like pick up on the relationship portion, and like, yeah. So even though for me it's about a relationship, I don't know. I can't tell if like that's what people are taking away from it.
Well, when it comes to songwriting, this story was quite unique. Do you typically, though, have a process when it does come to songwriting? Do you need music before you can come up with lyrics? Clearly, for this one, the idea started before the song even came to be.
Right. You know, I do it a couple of ways, but I always I have like a huge list of like a documents like a Word doc thing, like a Google Doc thing. Sorry. Where anytime I think of like a funny theme or like a hook line, that a song could be about. Like if something funny comes up in conversation, I'm like, oh, that should be a song. Like I'll put that. And so sometimes when I go in to write a song, like I'll go through that list and go like, oh, let's write a song about this funny thing. Um, like um so that's a really common way. But other than that, like when it comes to a theme, usually like for me, some people like start with like the all lyrics and then they like build a song from that. And I don't really do that. Like I go in and like whether I'm writing it with, producing it myself or collaborating with other people, I like to like jam on like let's get a jam, like an idea going instrumentally. Let's just get something that vibes. And then I'll usually do like the whole song in gibberish. Like I'll immediately just start singing melodies, like the first thing that comes to mind. And I'll sing like the whole song like that. A lot of times I'll even, before I even think about lyrics, I'll record the whole song with all my gibberish melody ideas. And I'll even do like 3-part harmonies, you know, and stuff like that in gibberish and record it all before I actually even have lyrics to a song. And then usually the more like it's almost like an exorcism. It's like the more I'm singing like the gibberish to it and just vibing out and just letting whatever is gonna come out melodically come out. Usually like words just start back and back, oh, I'm actually saying this. Like that's kind of insane. And then I'll sort of like work out all the rest of the lyrics from that point.
So you did mention that you do have a hand in production. Is that typical for you? Do you always have a hand when it comes to the production side of your music?
Yeah, I usually like I work with a lot of like really dope producers. Um, you know, in those kind of cases, definitely they'll do the heavy lifting on production. But some songs I'll fully produce myself. And even with them, I still like to be pretty hands-on with the production. Um, and even for them, like when it comes to the writing, I like their input on like lyrics, or I'll be like, what do you think for a melody there? You know? So we kind of like most of I mean, all the people I work with, it's very like fluid, So I'll be like, hey, what about this guitar part? Hey, let's like lay this down, or like this drum beat, all this kind of stuff. And they'll also chime in on the vocal stuff, you know.
This EP is coming fast and it looks like it's going to be furious as well. What are some themes you guys what are some themes you explore on If the World is Ending?
Yeah. Um, I mean, for me, the if the world is ending, it was kind of like there's also, one of the singles on the album is also like the title track, If the World is Ending. And I feel like that really kind of encapsulates a time period and like what was happening like during while I was writing this record. And for me, it was really just about like just feeling like kind of having everything kind of fall apart around me. Is like with all the stuff happening politically and like all these like you know basically taking away women's rights and control of our bodies and reproductive health. And then as a queer person, LGBTQ rights being threatened and that being really scary. And this sort of like a rise, this continued rise of like the alt-right, plus like all the new global warming stuff. Like it was just like
It's all, you just named everything almost
I
possible
know.
that
And
we
there's
literally
what's
went through.
what's crazy is there's like more. Like
And
there's
I
so much
know.
that there's war, also war. like economic recession, like all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, and that song on the record and kind of the theme of the whole album is sort of like this at some point going like, yes, like do what you can do to fight back 100%. But also going, you know what? The world is fucking ending. Like, let's fucking enjoy it, you know? And going like, let's have like one last hurrah and like like live it while we're here, I guess, you know? I kept envisioning myself like sort of certainly with that song and then kind of like overall like theme like on all the songs really I kept like kind of envisioning myself as like Harley Quinn,
That's a
you
good
know.
metaphor. That's a good
Yeah,
metaphor. I can
like
see that.
I really related to her throughout like these songs and this album and that kind of approach to all the shit melting down around you, like kind of being a vigilante but also sort of just being like fuck you, you know. I'm gonna do it how I'm gonna do it, and there's all this fucked up shit happening, but you know, I'm still gonna like try to move through it with like confidence and like a sort of rebellious approach, I guess.
Sometimes you just have to be a badass.
Sometimes, yeah.
There's 7 songs to the EP. Is there one that maybe challenged you the most creatively, or one that even maybe holds a special significance to you?
Yeah, there's um one of the songs on the album is called The Person That I Thought I Knew, or The Person I Thought I Knew. And that song, that one is particularly special to me. It's a duet. Um, it's a duet with the singer from Foreign Air, Jesse Klassen, and he's putting it under his new solo project called The Bear Romantic. Um, but that one particularly is like super. It's definitely like an outlier on the record. Um, and it's this duet kind of ballad, and I don't know, it was really special. Like I've worked with the guys in Foreign Air on other singles and stuff like that, and they're great. And this one, when we started writing it, Jesse and I, it really was like so different. You know, we were like, where is this going to live? It's not like a piano. It almost feels like theatrical in a way. And we were like, where is this going to live? Like, was this going to be released on the record? Like, should we try to pitch it to another artist? You know? And um I don't know, even though it was like very different from what Foreign Air does and different from what a lot of other beginner stuff is, we just kind of fell in love with it. It feels like a very sweet, it's very like sincere and sweet, and it has these like theatrical elements. And um yeah, it was interesting. And when we were making it, we because it's pretty like simple too. It's like fairly stripped down. And when we were finishing it, we were like, we basically ended up using just the stripped down demo. But our intention the whole time was, oh, we're gonna like build this into this massive, big production song.
You
And
try
then we were,
things, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you know?
yeah, we were like, I don't know, like exactly. The more we like kept trying stuff, we were like, I don't know, like there's like a real sweetness to just like the raw demo, and not making it too like glossy or like overly produced.
Hmm.
um and so that was, I think, to me, a that was one of the more challenging ones on the record for us. That was the last one we were able to finish. Like we barely got it in time because we kept trying to tweak stuff and going like, oh, maybe we need to add this. um but it's also one of my favorites on the album for sure.
Well, will there be a tour to accompany if the world is ending, or are you guys focused right now just on getting a couple more singles out for the time being?
we're gonna be there's definitely gonna be some shows following the release. Like the album comes out November 2nd. So we'll be up leading up to it, really just kind of focusing on like rolling out singles and content around the singles and stuff like that. And then yeah, and then once the album's out, we'll do some like release shows and yeah, hopefully get some tours on the books.
Is there one song on the album then that you're excited to perform live, or you can't tease too many off the EP? That way people are intrigued to keep listening to
I know,
every single
right?
track, right? I don't want to push too far.
Right? I know. I think the song I mean the one that I'm most looking forward to playing, and this is actually the next single that comes out September 7th, I believe. Um it's a song I did with Robert DeLong, who's another like amazing artist. He's incredible. And a friend of mine. And
Mhm.
we we did the song called Goodbye, Good Luck. And that's for me, I think that's the one I'm most looking forward to playing live. It's like very really like dive into like kind of teen
Mhm.
angsty vibes and like I think it's going to be big sing along moments and our fans are like the best. Like our shows are so fun. I would say like that's like the main characteristic. It's like a very fun time. And so I think that song will be really great because everyone can like chime in and scream their heads off.
You mentioned a number of collabs that get to take place on this EP. Is there a dream collab still out there for you?
Oh man. Whew. There's so many. First of all, I just like love collaboration because it helps you like get out of your own head. And that's why like even though I produce as well, I really like collaborating with other artists because it
Hmm.
helps you. They think of stuff that you wouldn't have thought of, and you can get out of your head. Yeah. So, man, dream collab. I'm like, well, I've always wanted to work with. Um, I'm I forget his name. Um, but the guitar player for Yeah Yeah Yeahs.
Oh yeah.
I've
I,
always wanted to do something together.
that would be
Um,
epic.
yeah, that would be epic. Um, I don't know. Like I love so much. I love so many things. Like I would love a variety. Also this like really heavy bands called Mets. Um, and I love them. Like I would love to do like a collab with that, like because I kind of come from more of like a hardcore punk background.
Right.
So a lot of my favorite bands are like very aggressive, which I like. It's like very calming for me. Um, yeah, it's like a collab with like somebody like Mets. Just unusual stuff too. I like.
I was gonna ask, what are you currently listening to, but it sounds like you're kind of focused on a couple people for the time being.
Yeah, I'm like, what do I listen to a lot? I'll tell you what I listen to all the time. It is like a go-to record for me is I listen to Weezer, like the Blue album. Like, I mean, all the time. Like I would say there's like a 75% likelihood that if I'm like listening
And
to
if you're
music or something, I'm
driving
like,
or something,
yes, there's just something about it that like, and I've always loved it. I've been listening to it for like 100,000 years now. And like, there's just something about it that's like, it's so good and it like works for every mood. I've been listening to uh Fiona Apple title. I sort of got back into that album. I just like had Criminal in my head and I was like, ooh, I want to listen to that. And I sort of dove back in and oh, that record's so good. Um, so that's another one right now that I'm listening to a lot.
well, with this new EP coming out and some new singles on the way, what would you like to say to everyone who are fans and supporters of the incredible music you make?
I'm just thanks for listening, and I'm so excited to like keep sharing and sort of share sort of the evolution of the music and also just kind of my life because every song is like very personal to me.
Oh,
So it
thank you,
feels
Ari.
nice to go like it's like I don't know. I feel like I'm always like telling my fans these giant secrets and I'm like, "Oh my God, guess what happened now?" Here.
I think you do such a beautiful job of connecting with them through social media as well. So I feel like
Oh, thanks.
they have such a great connection with you as well.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been fun.
I
Social
mean,
media is like the best and the worst. Because sometimes you're like, I don't want to do it at all. Like sometimes I just want to like be, especially when I'm like writing and stuff. I'm in like sweatpants. It's like I don't want to be like, hey everyone, like here's how I'm doing this, you know. Um, but then at the same time, it is really funny. It's fun to go like, oh, I have this like funny idea, and then be able to do that and like chitty chat with fans and stuff back and forth. Like that part's really nice.